The off season, honey, it's setting you up. It's setting you up for the next season in life, which will be a lot more prosperous. If you focus and do what you need to do during the off season, hey YouTube fam, what is going on? Welcome back to the FLF, Faith, Lifestyle, and Fashion channel, where you get inspired, motivated, and challenged in every area of your life. I'm Sheree, and let's get into today's video. And the purpose of this video is to encourage you wherever you are in life. And it could be that you're on an entrepreneurial journey, or it could have nothing to do with being an entrepreneur, right? But if you are in a place in life where you are just really uncertain about where you're headed, kind of confused as what steps to take, just kind of like in a weird space in life. Maybe you're not happy right now. Maybe you're dealing with depression or a recent loss, and you just need some encouragement to keep going. This is why I am making this video. But I do want to share first what I went through and why I am speaking on this. So for me, starting the end of last year, September to be exact, I was living by myself, and I moved back home with my parents. It's been a blessing, though. It really has. But you guys know how it is. Like, once you reach adulthood, that's something that you don't plan on needing to do, right? Is move back home. And I was in a position where it was not even really a choice. I had to move back home. So I moved back home in September of last year. And I also re-entered corporate America. So for a whole year, I had been running my business full time. And for financial reasons, went back to work in October of last year. And at the same time, I decided to start my journey to financial freedom. Y'all, I had a lot of debt, but we're going to get into it. So here I am back in corporate America, drowning in debt, wanting to reach financial freedom. And that in itself was a lot of emotions to process and to work through. And then later that year, around April, I submitted a manuscript for my 30-day devotional, which is now published. I'll link it down below. Shameless plug. But yeah, so I submitted that to a publisher. And then in July, I actually reached financial freedom. So I paid off over $50,000 in debt. Whew. Y'all, I'm going to share more on that. But I want y'all to keep in mind this timeline, okay? So October 2019, I started my journey to financial freedom. July 2020, I paid off $50,000 of debt, which was all my debt. So that's October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 9 months, you guys. In 9 months, God blessed me and allowed me to, positioned me to pay off all of my debt. So that's a testimony in itself. In August, the devotional was released. And then in October, literally last month, I actually quit my corporate job. So now I'm back to being a full-time entrepreneur. But you guys, what a crazy timeline, right? Back in September of last year, I would not think I would be where I'm at right now. Definitely would not think I would be like debt-free 9 months later, okay? So don't give up. Like, I just want to say that do not give up. Obviously, like, there are going to be things that you're going to experience during your off season of life. I went through so many emotions, a sense of failure, depression, confusion, frustration, anger, just mentally fatigued. I experienced every emotion you could imagine. That's just a brief timeline. You know, obviously other things happened, a couple heartbreaks, other, you know, things went on as well. But in general, those were kind of like the main things that I feel had me in a place of just really wanting to like give up, and I was confused, didn't know what was happening with life. Okay. So how do you get through your off season, right? Like, how did I get through that? You guys, the number one thing was prayer. Like, prayer. And I'm not gonna lie, a part of that season I wasn't praying because I was just so frustrated. I was angry with God. I felt like he was the reason why I was where I was. And shout out to family and friends that prayed on my behalf when I, you know, couldn't pray or refused to pray. So number one was prayer. But if you're not, you know, a spiritual person, or you don't believe in prayer, definitely just knowing what you want. So for me, being in that season, I had to get clear on what it is that I wanted. I think a lot of times we will spend so much time, so much energy expressing what we don't like about our lives. But it's like, okay, well, what do you want instead? And I don't mean just like, I just want things to be better. I just want to have a good job, right? Like, get really clear with yourself about what it is that you want. What type of job do you want? Okay. What's your ideal salary? What is your family life? What do you desire that to look like? Whatever it is you're struggling with, you first need to get clear on what you want, because how can you move toward anything if you don't know what you're moving toward? Really spend time with yourself and figure out what it is that you want. That's what I had to do. And then once I figured out what that was, I was able to pray on that and then surrender. Surrender is the biggest thing. Like, I really cannot even stress that enough, you guys, how important it is to just surrender. When I found myself moving back home with my parents in September of last year, right before that, well, a few months before that, I went on a fast. Some of you guys, I'll link that video below. I went on a fast and I had to surrender during that time. And I want to say that was around July-ish. Yeah, June, July. So mind you, I go on a fast for 40 days. And then coming out of that, you know, fast forward to September, I still end up having to move back home. So I wanted to note that, because just because you're praying, just because you're fasting, you know, doing these things, it doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily get what you want, how you want it. So I got clear on what I wanted. One of my biggest things was financial freedom. I was just tired of being in debt. And I was also frustrated with myself and how I managed money, or my lack of money management. It's probably a more accurate way to put it. But so I submitted that to God, and then I surrendered to him. And we fast forward to October, I was blessed with an opportunity to go back to a company I previously worked for. And I'm thinking like, great, I can at least just get caught up on my bills. Like, that's all I really was going in there for. But God was like, oh, okay, no, I had something else planned for you. And not even a whole year later, y'all, I was debt free. Like, I would have never in a million years thought that I would be able to pay off all of my debt, student loans included, in less than a year. That just isn't something that was feasible to me. I didn't even entertain that thought, right? But I surrendered to God. And so what that did is it allowed him to move how he wanted to move. I think a lot of times we pray for something and then we still try to make it happen. Like, we try to answer our own prayer. And that's why we're in the positions we are now, most likely, is because we try to do things our way. So surrender, like, pray about it, surrender. And that surrender means being open to what God has for you, right? And removing that extra clutter, whether it's mental clutter, it might be physical clutter, like people around you. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Stay encouraged, whatever it is that you're going through. I mean, you see the timeline, like what God did in my life in little over a year. financial freedom, a new mindset towards money so that I can remain financially free, a book. Like, you guys, if I would have given up, I wouldn't be able to hold this up right now. I wouldn't be able to say that I, wrote a book. But that's what happens when you surrender. This wasn't in my plan. I never, write a devotional? That wasn't in my plan ever. Like, being an author in general was never in my plan. But what happened is I surrendered to God, and He was able to create amazing things that He's still creating. So be encouraged. If you're in an off season right now, in a dark place, like, don't give up. There is something on the other side of that. Just surrender. I really cannot stress that enough. Like, surrender, because praying about it but then holding on to it just causes more stress, because now you're trying to do things yourself. So that is my testimony. That's what I went through. Hopefully that helps you and encourages you and inspires you to really think about what you want and to get to know yourself. So leave any comments, questions down below. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.